Hey guys, Jake from New Age Soldier here. Today's going to be something a little different. And thank you very much for watching my other hacking videos. There will be a new video Friday, of course. But in the meantime, I just wanted to show you something. This will, of course, be incorporated in a future video. Maybe for hacking older programs, something for Windows 95, 98. But what I did was I had to buy actual hardware because you can run Windows 95 and 98 in a virtual machine on any computer really, but because of the 3D acceleration not being supported by any virtual machine, you do have to have actual hardware if you want to run those older 3D games, or even just to run a game properly, let's say. Because you could run a DOS game in DOSBox, but can you run a Windows 95, 98 3D accelerated video game in a virtual machine at 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second or anything that's decently playable? No, you can't. And to find a laptop that meets those specs is actually pretty rare to come by. They particularly weren't meant for gaming, they were made for business people. So I went on eBay and I tried looking for something that was around what I had when I was younger. So when I was younger, I had a Compaq Presario, my father, sorry, not me. Laptops back then were way too expensive. You know, they could have been $2,000, $4,000 at that time. They were ridiculously expensive. So he had a Compaq Presario, I don't really know, but I think it had a Pentium 2 in it. It had some sort of 3D acceleration. I remember it being called Diamond or something like that at that time. And it could play EverQuest, it could play some games. Would they run particularly well? No. They could probably run at maybe 20 frames per second, but it was more than playable. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to get the same body type that that laptop had. That body type was what you're seeing right here. This is the Compaq Presario 1800T, and this was the last that they made of this body type before they went on to slimmer models and really tried to cut down in price. I mean, Compaq has always been known for trying to make laptops and computers affordable. So here's what I did. I went on eBay and I bought two laptops. One was cheaper than the other, but they were both, one was listed as for parts, and I didn't realize this, of course, until later. And then another one was listed as working used, and I will tell you that both of them had problems, of course. This one that I bought, let's go over the specs first of what this laptop actually offers. So here it is. It's the one down here. I don't know actually where he even found this. It's kind of surprising, but because Compaq doesn't exist anymore, it's HP now. But he found it under the customer care, and then he was able to locate the product information for that line of laptops. So here he highlighted for me. And this was actually the one that was broken and used for parts. He actually sent the specs, which I was really surprised. And I did try to get my money back, but for some reason, eBay said, well, no, we think he listed it properly and you just weren't reading it. But I'll go over the specs first and I'll tell you how the listings went. But down here it has a Pentium 3, 800 megahertz. This one has 800 megahertz. This one actually has 1000 megahertz. So this was actually, I believe that would be 1 gigahertz at that point. 1500 TFT active matrix display, so that's going to give you a much better display than most of the laptops around actually earlier than this. This was a 2000 laptop, so a little bit earlier would be 1998, 1999 laptop, and those laptops didn't really have that great of a monitor. They'd have a lot of ghosting or something like that, so these were much better for playing video games on, really. And then 128 megabits of RAM. You could upgrade to 320 meg if you wanted to. I believe this one has 128, this one has 320. The 320 I didn't know if it was good or not, you know, because I was having issues with it. So I just left the 128 in here, and it's actually perfectly fine for running games. I might swap them around. I'll think about that later. And then it also has a, let's see, 15 gig hard drive. It's been upgraded, I believe, because just an older hard drive, you know, they start making noises, they start ceasing up, so I just replaced it with a much better working one. So, and then it also has a DVD-ROM drive, which is surprising. These specs, and then it can also play DVDs. It's a little surprising. I was expecting just a CD, but DVD, that's a nice plus. And also 8X, so not super fast, but it'll read them. And then it does have a 3D card, actually, a Mobility M128 with 16 megs of memory. So there is a 3D card. Could it run Call of Duty 1? No. I believe Call of Duty 1 needs 32 meg, so it being 16 would probably run at least half the frame rate, right? 56K modem. I will not be using that, obviously. 256K integrated on-chip cache. It does have an Ethernet port, so that's good. We can hook it up. And it also comes with Microsoft Office 2000. However, I downgraded it to Windows 98. I did do Millennium Edition, and I thought, well, let's go a little bit further to Windows 98 because Windows 2000 is on the NT kernel, and I wanted to be on the 9X kernel for much better compatibility. I even, for the heck of it, installed 2000 just to get the drivers working, and then I thought, well, let's go ahead and try to play a DOS game on there, and it didn't even try to run it. Pretty much it just crashed, had bugs, errors. So luckily we had I had Windows 98, installed it on here, found all the drivers online, and yeah, can run games like Theme Park or the original Doom without having to do any sort of modifications to it. So let's get down to the laptops themselves. This one was cheaper, this one was more expensive, and by more expensive I mean it was $30 more. The issue with this one was I bought it and they said just hold in the upper section of the keyboard and the display will come on. So I thought, okay, so the ribbon cable might be loose or something like that. So I bought it. There was nothing on display. It was completely dead, basically. So I basically gutted this for working parts. This laptop had an issue like the keyboard was a foreign keyboard, and and I'll show you in a little bit which I don't actually know what language it is even. Maybe you guys can identify that. I'm not sure. But this one here also had a broken latch, and the section here where the touchpad is was a different color, and it was also sticky. Like I don't know if something spilt on it or he tried to clean it with something, and it just became gunk at that point. So I replaced it. So I can actually dissect it even for you here. So this is this is my working one here. This was also really dirty. I cleaned it up as best I could. There's some staining, I think, in the metal here, in the aluminum. This is aluminum, by the way, which kind of sucks because when you put up this, it would fall backwards because it was so heavy. Who does that? Who puts an aluminum backing on a monitor and then thinks when you put it up it's not going to fall right back over because it's so heavy? So I had to fix the joints here, and this one was actually really strong in the right corner. The left corner was super weak, so I had to. What I did was I put super glue in there, and then let it dry, and then when you move it back and forth, it kind of just hardens in there. And then it kind of adds extra friction to it, so when it pops open, it can actually hold there. So this is my working one, and I love it, by the way. In the end, I was very happy with the product. But here's the broken one. Let's go ahead and dissect this. So this is the laptop here. The latch actually went on there. So, you know, this is what it would look like. So what it was I took off the monitor here, and I even took off the frame because underneath, this was broken, by the way. When I got it, it was all smashed up here. So I removed the frame, which is just pretty much falling apart there. This right here, and I forgot what this is called, but this will basically give the laptop or the monitor here power. So this is the bad part. This is what is causing it not to have a display. This here is all corroded. I don't know why it's corroded. So I don't even know if this is good even, this ribbon cable right here. That's why I don't want to replace this part, this entire laptop, because if I go out and I buy a new one of these, that's like $10. and then I hook it up, and then it ends up being not, you know, another issue with this later down the road or something like that. I'd rather not mess around with that, so set that aside. Then here, the keyboard right here, so you have to pop this open, take this off. This is the touchpad portion, and I don't know, it's a different color somehow from this, and it's cheap feeling, and I really don't know. Maybe he put like wood, like sprayed some of that, like something you'd clean woodwork with or something like that, because I know that stuff gets sticky when you put it on plastic. So I don't know if he sprayed it with that and tried to clean it with that or something, because now look at that, everything sticks to it. It's not supposed to do that. And here's where it displays a CD. One of the interesting things about this laptop is if you put in a CD, a music CD, and you can, with it powered off, not in the operating system at all, you can actually press to go ahead and start playing the song from the music CD. I thought that was interesting, but I obviously will not be using that. I don't even have any music CDs. And here's the little data cable that hooks into the board that's right down here, this little display down here. This was also smashed right here. It's showing dead pixels there. So that's done for. So it pops open like that, and you detach this, and you take that off. So here is the hard drive. This thing is incredibly loud. So it's on its last leg here. And man, I mean, you can even tell it's an IBM Telstar. Does IBM even make hard drives anymore? You'd think they would just put a Seagate in here or something like that. Why bother with an IBM? That's very strange. So once we're in here, here's the keyboard. Pops open like that. Slides off, actually. It pops up and then slides out. And then here, it's in a different language. I don't, no clue what that is. See here, whatever that is. And then over here, it shows upside down question mark, upside down exclamation point. Oh, there was some other ones too. Alt GR, it's just Alt. I don't know why they put that. Repage, Inicio, AVPG, Fin. Fin is delete. It's funny. SUPR, pausa. Maybe Spanish? I don't know. I'm just guessing. Pelsis over here on this key. So that's the keyboard. Super thin, you know. Scissor key. Probably can't really see that. But yeah, scissor key. Keyboard, obviously. It's just surprising how much newer tech you can find in these things. So here's the laptop itself. These are some of the ribbon cables I removed. This was down here in the floppy drive, so that was removed. This was, I believe, like this, and I think that was for the power bridge here, which would go somewhere around here and down here, and then that would be for the battery right here. Battery slides in, connects to there. Pull it out. Disconnected that. Here's how everything is cooled. This massive piece of metal right here. This is what sits underneath the keyboard. And you have to remove screws here, here, and all the corners. And finally, when you take it out, then it'll get stuck like that because it has a huge piece of metal that goes back here. So what you gotta do is you gotta pull it up, pull it out, and here it is. This is the entire heatsink. This is what cools the CPU right here. And this is what cools the chip for the Southbridge or Northbridge, I'm not sure. But see, it's only half too. It only cools half of the chip. The other half is cooled by the DVD tray down here. Here is the circuit board that plugs in up here, it pops out. This is what connects right here, the data for the monitor, and right here for the power for the monitor. And then here's all the media buttons right here, and then right here is what detects if you close the monitor. If you take it and you fold it down, this button will be pressed, which means, you know, computer, you can go to sleep now. That goes over here. All right, so then this whole part is one piece. So we'll pull that out. Here's the board itself. Here is where you would put your PCMCI cards into. They would snap into here, and then you'd press this button on the side to eject them back out. Floppy drive, DVD drive. The DVD drive is the other half cooling portion, so I pull that out. So just right here is what is the other half of the cooling is. So half and half of the cooling of this chip right here, which has something to do with the maybe south or north bridge of whatever it controls. You know, here's the floppy drive. This does nothing. This is actually really hard to get out too. And if you have an issue like I had where this part breaks off, the plastic here, and you have to reattach this to the front of it, it's the flap where you put a floppy disk into. This, if this snaps off and you got to put it back on, good luck. It's impossible without taking the entire thing apart to just put this one little piece back on. I had to do that with my other one, but whatever, I did it anyways, just to keep the dust out, you know? So I took that off, all the plastic pieces. This is the drawer where the PCMCI goes into, where the little chips go into, it slings open. And then here is the circuit board itself. This is the chip for, I believe this chip, I can't remember, has something to do with the networking for like the dial-up and stuff like that. It was either for dial-up for the 56K or the, I don't think it's for the RJ11. I don't know. It has something to do with networking. That's all I know. This board does not have wireless in any form. If it did, it would be 802.11b if it did. During 2000, I don't know if they even had that sort of technology at that time. This is what connects the DVD drive that just pops off. This is the one fan that cools the entire thing. So disconnected there, slides right out. This little fan right here cools the entire board. And what I find to be the most interesting thing is, here's the processor, the Pentium 3 processor. Here's the, you know, the pretty big chip for controlling the whatever, pretty much everything. I mean, probably controls audio and, I mean, maybe that's a chip over here too. A whole bunch of huge chips on this thing that I don't know. I don't know if they exist on a newer laptop. I would assume they would be much smaller on a newer laptop, more compact, I would say, especially in phones and other stuff like that. Now, to get this thing out is kind of a pain in the butt because it's all these ports here are just jammed into it, and then this button right here likes to stick, so you don't want to snap that off. So what you have to do is you have to press it in to pop it out, and then really force it to get out of there. So here's the entire motherboard. Lots of little connectors here for everything that's on the front, like the keyboards and the floppy drive, DVD drive, not the DVD drive's here. Everything down here is for the keyboard, pretty much everything. Now you might be looking at this and say, well, okay, that had the ATI Radeon 3D accelerated chip on it, right? Where is it? Right here is for controlling something like the south bridge. This is for controlling the north bridge. This is the Pentium 3 processor, which I had an issue, it just popped right off. And the only thing cooling it was this huge, massive chunk of metal and a tiny little fan. So the graphics chip is actually here on the bottom. I'm gonna remove the processor. Here on the bottom, we have the actual Rage 3D chip itself right here. Okay, so my camera ran out of memory, so I have to, I'll continue here. This is the Rage Mobility Radeon, or I'm sorry, not Radeon. The Rage Mobility 128 chip, passively cooled by a very small fan here that only half of the air blows onto it and semi-cools it. So I guess in newer laptops, of course, you know, they have the huge copper heat sinks over it to cool it down, and in the older ones, maybe they just didn't get as hot or they didn't put out as much power, so there. Now here is the actual laptop itself. I don't know if it's actually on even. As you can tell, it's all cleaned up, nice, it's not smashed or anything like that. You know, I mean, if I was to do a review about it, I would just say it's a very good laptop for around that time. You can actually play 3D games on this. You can play EverQuest at 30, 60 frames. It's not noticeably laggy at all. Playing games like Warcraft 2 or something like that, it doesn't really push it to the limits of what it's actually capable of doing. So I can't really show you anything on here just because I don't have much installed. Like I said, I went from Windows 2000 down to Windows Millennium Edition down to Windows 98. And that's where we sit right now. So I had to keep installing games onto it, and hopefully I'll have something to show for it later. Also, I will be programming later on here how to make trainers for older Windows computers, and also how to use Cheat Engine on older devices like this that are on Windows 98, and how to make your trainers compatible with them, and also all the way up to Windows 10. So you can make a compatible trainer from Windows 95 all the way up to Windows 10, which is good if you're going to make a trainer for an older game like, let's say, Warcraft, like maybe Diablo 2. Like, let's say you're going to make a trainer for Diablo 2 or StarCraft 1 or something like that, how you can be able to do that. And here's a hint, it's Visual Basic 6 is what we're going to have to program in, and not .NET, obviously, because .NET 2.0 is compatible with Windows 98, and nothing is compatible with Windows 95, so as far as .NET goes. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. And if you can find one of these laptops, like I said, I bought the only two on eBay, but if you can, I recommend buying it. It's really hard to find one that's working 100%. Like I said, this one had a foreign keyboard, the latch was broken off, and it was listed as used but good. You know, he didn't say something was smashed off or broken or a foreign language. Like I said, I did manage to get some of my money back too. I told him, I said, you know, I gave him a bad review, and I said, this guy was completely dishonest and he didn't tell me all the issues with the laptop. So he gave me a little bit of a refund, and I think in the end it was okay. So, yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to, on eBay, if you do buy a product that doesn't live up to your standards, don't be afraid to return it or give them a bad review. In the end, you're going to get your way. Because you are the buyer after all, and eBay tries to help you out as much as they can. So thanks for watching very much, guys, and do subscribe, because like I said, in the future we're going to show what we can do with Windows 98 and 95 and older legacy systems, and how to cheat and hack them. So thanks for watching, guys.